In this lecture, we are discussing the types of morphemes. So we have discussed various other morphemes. So the bond morpheme can be divided into different types. So portmanteau morpheme is one of the types of bond morphemes. Portmanteau morpheme is a single form that expresses more than one grammatical feature at the same time. So in other words, it combines what would normally be conveyed by two or more separate morphemes into one unified unit. So we can say that any morph or any morpheme which has more than one grammatical representation in the language is called portmanteau morpheme. So we have the English example am. So am expresses both the first person singular and the present tense marking. So these features are merged within the single morpheme is am. So similarly in French, we have the example like au means to the is a portmanteau morph that combines the postposition a with the article le. So that is the portmanteau morpheme. So portmanteau morpheme simply means one form represent more than one features. So, unlike the agglutinative languages, where each grammatical features like tense, number, case, person is marked by separate, distinct affixes. However, portmanteau morpheme fuse all these features into one indivisible form. Indivisible means it cannot be divided into separate parts, but that one morph has all these features. So that is called portmanteau morph. So Matthews 1991 defines that portmanteau morphemes are central to fusional morphology, where the morphemes cannot be easily segmented into separate units corresponding to individual feature. So instead, the grammatical meaning is compressed into a single form. So that means one morph has different grammatical meaning, and these grammatical meanings are compressed into a single form, that is the portmanteau morphemes. Bloomfield describes them as forms that carry more than one morphemic meaning at once. So, and it emphasizes that there is analytical importance in distinguishing between agglutinative and fusional languages. So, by the help of portmanteau morphemes, we can differentiate between the agglutinative languages and fusional languages, because the agglutinative languages has each morpheme by different represented by different affixes, but the in regional languages one morph or one morpheme represent many grammatical features at once. So thus portmanteau morphemes are crucial in understanding the non-linear mapping between form and meaning in language. So they demonstrate how morphological systems vary cross-linguistically in their strategies for encoding grammatical information. So we have also some example from Urdu Hindi for portmanteau morphemes. But though these examples are not that much related to portmanteau, but you can understand the concept of portmanteau by these examples. So we have the example in the verb form that include tense, aspect, and agreement. So if we have the verb like मैं खाता हूँ. So here the suffix ta describe or represent the imperfective aspect and masculine agreement. So the one suffix ta represent both grammatical features together. So these grammatical features, if the one morph or the one morpheme represent the two distinct grammatical features together, so it is the features of portmanteau morph. In the similar way, we have the auxiliary whom. So the whom auxiliary also represent first person and singular. So there are two separate grammatical features represented by one morph whom. So we can say that these are the two examples of portmanteau morph in Hindi Urdu. And we have another example like वह जाता है और वह जाती है. So here the T includes feminine imperfective agreement. So there are two features represented by the morpheme or by the suffix T. One is the feminine feature and other is the imperfective agreement. So while hai also includes the two features, that is the third person singular and present tense. So we can say that the T, the affix T has the two different grammatical features in a Urdu, so it can be the example of portmanteau morph. So we can also understand the portmanteau in terms of politeness and honorificity in the Urdu Hindi language. Because in Urdu Hindi, if we use some marker or some suffixes or some other pronoun to describe the honorificity. So in these honorificity has the two types of features. One is the agreement and the other is the feature like the pronoun. So if we have the example like आप आ रहे हैं, so you are coming. So here A marks the two different features. One, it represents the masculine plural, and the other, it has the agreement with the up, which is comes under the honorificity. And in the same way, we have the auxiliary hai, which also includes more than one grammatical feature. So one is second person plural or honorific plus present tense. The other types of bond morphemes is zero morphemes. So a zero morpheme is also called the null morpheme. So it is the type of bond morphemes that carries grammatical meaning but lacks any overt phonological or orthographic form. So in the zero morpheme, there is no form, there is no physical realization, and there is no orthographic representation, but it has meaning, means it has some grammatical representation in the language. So in other words, we can say that it represents a meaningful contrast in grammar such as number, tense, aspect or case. So without being phonetically realized. So there is no phonetical representation of that zero morpheme, but it represents some features like some grammatical features and some other features also. So for example, in English, we have the plural sheep. So plural sheep is expressed without any change in form, but the contrast between the singular sheep and plural sheep indicate the presence of zero plural morpheme. So if you change the singular sheep into the plural sheep, so it has no change in the form, but the plural sheep has some extra feature, that is the pluralness, and this pluralness represented by the context only, but the physical, we do not have any physical form in the plural sheep. So it is called zero morpheme in English. Similarly, the past tense of put is realized with no overt realization for in or that there is no overt affixation to make it present, past or uh, passive. So if you make the present, if you make the past of put, so it has the same form put. So there is no additional affixes we are adding in the put. So it is also representing the same zero morpheme. So zero morpheme means there is no physical realization, there is no form, there is no affix, but they represent some grammatical features. So author Leon explains a zero morpheme is a meaningful absence of a form where the grammatical category is realized by the absence of overt expression. So there is no overt expression. Overt expression means there is no orthographic representation of that form, but it represents some grammatical category. It represents some meaning without any form. So this phenomena allows language to mark contrast morphologically even when no surface segment is present. That is called the empty morph. zero morpheme in English. Matthews further clarifies that zero morphemes are posited in morphologically analysis to maintain consistency in paradigm. For instance, when a category requires marking but is realized by nothing in certain cases. So you can again understand the zero morpheme. It is represented by nothing means it is represented by nothing. So nothing means there is no orthography, there is no form, there is no affixes, there is no case marker. But in grammatical feature, we can understand there is some grammatical change. So that grammatical change or that change in meaning realizes us that there is a zero morpheme. So thus the zero morpheme are essential to morphological theory because they highlight the relationship between the form and function, showing that linguistic meaning can be encoded even in the absence of audible or visible sign. So, in the language, we can understand even though there is no visible sign, there is no audible sign, but still we can understand some meaning by the context. So, that is the that is the uh, features of the language. So xenomorphism can also be understood by the Hindi-Urdu example in terms of plural marking and the oblique case marking. So here we can understand when we make the plural of ladka, so it is like ladke. So that is the singular and it is the plural. But when you make the sentence like ladka पढ़ता है. So here is the singular ladka padhta hai, and the singular ladka can also occur in the oblique case like ladke ne padha. So here when you add the postposition or the case marker ne, the singular ladka change into the ladke. So that is why we can understand the ladke also used as plural in Hindi and in oblique case in Hindi. So that is the zero morpheme. So we could not, we are not making the differentiate between between the plural ladke and oblique case ladke. So there is no additional suffix, there is no additional grammatical category that represent this differentiation. And we can also understand the same term with the ghar and the which is singular and the ghar which is the plural. So we are not using any suffix or any additional affix or any other case or a marker to differentiate between the singular ghar and plural ghar. So that is the case of zero morpheme because the pluralness in this particular ghar is not represented. So that is why we call it the zero morpheme. Now come to the empty morphemes. So empty morpheme means empty morpheme is a type of bond morpheme which is realized overtly. That means it has the form but it does not have the meaning. So there is a little representation in the form and but there is no semantic content in this empty morphemes. So we have the example from English like children. So in the example children, the rain represent the plural morpheme. So but the rain is not the regular plural marker in English. So we can call it is the empty morpheme because it does not have the meaning of plural across the other examples. So we do not have any regular or any other example where we use the rain as a plural marker. So it can be considered as a empty morpheme which has the form but there is no meaning of plural in the word in the affix ran. And in the same way, Bloomfield described empty morpheme as the form that have no meaning but occurs in the morphological structure of language. So that is why we call it, it has the form or it has the physical shape, it has the physical realization, but there is no meaning of that form that would be considered as a empty morpheme. So they function as a structural placeholders that may help maintain the phonological or morphological well-formedness but do not add new meaning. So they can help in the making any words in the terms of phonological or grammatical, but it does not have any meaning. So Matthews clarifies that empty morphemes are not the same as zero morpheme. Zero morpheme has no form but conveys meaning, and the empty morpheme has form but does not convey any independent meaning. So, from the theoretical perspective, they are often evoked to explain why certain word forms contain extra segment that cannot be assigned a clear lexical or grammatical function. So we have another example of empty morphemes in English like cranberry. So in the word cranberry, the crane has only form, but there is no meaning in this particular crane, because in English it is an empty morpheme that only appears in the compound, like the word berry. So it can be cranberry. So crane function as a formal placeholder, but it does not give the meaning. It can only occur as a placeholder in that particular example. In the same way, we have the another example of sieve. So we use receive, deceive, and perceive. But the morpheme sieve from the Latin capere means take, so is no longer semantically transparent in English. So in modern usage, it is an empty bond morpheme carried over from historical borrowing. So once it has meaning in Latin and it is borrows with the meaning take, but nowadays the sieve does not use anywhere cross linguistically in the language which gives some meaning of take. So now it in this now it can be considered as an empty morpheme in the language, because we are not getting any meaning by the word or by the we can say morph or by the part of the word sieve. In Hindi Urdu, we have the example of ta. So we have also already discussed that example like karta. So karta means does. So masculine, singular, habitual. So the morpheme ta function more as a grammatical agreement aspect marker than is a carrier of independent meaning. So that means ta does not have any meaning or any like we have the like when we make the word like kitab, making kitabe. So here a is the plural marker, so it has the meaning of plural. So in this sense ta does not have any meaning, so that can be considered in the cross example, because the a can occur in different example as a plural marker, but the infinitive marker ta does not occur in that particular way, so it gives some particular meaning. So it can have some masculine, singular, or habitual agreement with the subject, or it mark the aspect, means the habitual aspect. So some structural description treat the thigh as semantically empty when separated from the agreement features. So when you do not consider the agreement feature of ta, so it can be occur as the empty morpheme in Urdu, Hindi. We have another example of va in the causative forms. So in some Hindi Urdu examples, the causative morpheme va is partly semantically empty because it does not always transparently convey causation. So when you consider lots of other example cross linguistically, so like the word dikhana or dikhwana, so to have something shown. So here the va is sometimes analyzed as a empty or the bleached morpheme, because it does not have this kind of meaning, because the main meaning derived by the na suffix for making is causation. So the morphology, the study of word structure, often distinguishes between inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes also. So both of which belong to the class of bond morphemes. So this distinction is fundamental to understand how languages encode grammatical relation and generate new vocabulary. So these two types of morphemes are very crucial in any language to form different new words or to form or to change in grammatical category. So the first one is the inflectional morpheme. So inflectional morpheme does not create the new words. It does not give the new meaning, but it does change something in the grammar or it change something, some grammatical feature of the language. For example, we have the word noun like book. So book can be changed into books. So the sa is the inflectional suffix here. And we have the example like walk. So walk can be changed into walked or walking. So here AD and ING is the inflectional suffix. So this inflectional suffix does not change in the meaning or does not create the new words, but just changes some grammatical information of the words. So in noun we have uh, the change from singular to plural, and in verb we have changed from the present to past or progressive, or we have also in some passive verbs like eat to eaten and write to written. So this en is the passive marker which does not change any in meaning but just change some grammatical information of this of the language. So we have some other types of inflectional marker in languages in terms of adjective also. So in adjective, we have the change like tall become taller and tallest. So here the tall ER and EST is also the inflectional marker because it does not create any or does not change the parts of speech or the word form. We can say that it does not change from noun to verb or verb to noun, but just change in adjective only from the simple to comparative to superlative degree. And in the same way, we have the noun, so we just add the s, but to make the singular to plural. And in verb, we have the ed and ing and en. So these are the simple inflectional in any languages. So, but they are very productive in nature. The inflectional markers or the inflectional morphemes are very productive in nature, and they have very regular form in any language. So with these regular form, we can create, we can change lots of grammatical category in a language. So we have also example of an inflectional marker from Hindi Urdu. So like we have the example here is ladka. So ladka change into the ladke, and we have bacha change into the bacche. So here the a marker, ladka change into the ladke and bacha change into the bacche. So this is the uh, marker which used for the plural in Hindi. So there is only change in number. There is no creating. We are not creating any new word in this inflectional marker. In the same way, we have the gender distinction in Urdu also, which also comes under the inflectional change. So from we can make from acha to achi, or we can also make from lamba to lambi to lambi, or we can make the chota to choti, and many other example like mota, moti. So this change only comes under the gender distinction from masculine to feminine. So there here we are not creating the new word, so that also comes under the inflectional marker. So these are the marker like a change in the e, or the ladka a change into the a, are the inflectional marker in Hindi Urdu. So the inflectional does not create new words but rather adjusts the form of the same lexeme to fit the grammatical requirement. Now come to the derivational morphemes. So derivational morphemes are very creative in nature. So with the derivational affixes or with the derivational morpheme, we can create the new words. So we can also change the parts of speech. So we can change from the noun to adjective, and we can change from verb to noun. So this changes comes under the derivational morphemes. So here we have example like happy, which is the adjective. So when we add the derivational affix ness, so this is the derivational affix ness or the derivational morphemes ness, which make it the noun. In the same way, we have the kind, so it become the unkind by the derivational prefix. So that change the meaning in negative. It is also creating we are different meaning. So it is by the derivational morphemes we can change in the parts of speech. We can create the new meaning and we can create new words, or we can also change into the word form. So we can help another example like the modern. So here is the adjective and we can change the modernize with the is suffix. So that change from the adjective to verb in English. So derivational morphemes are very uh, it is not that much productive like inflectional morphemes, but it creates new words, it changes the word category, or it also changes create the new meaning in a language. And now we have the example of Urdu Hindi of derivational morphemes. So we have the example like khush become khushi. So it is from adjective, it becomes the noun. Bada, badai, naya, नवीनता and खूबसूरत become खूबसूरती, gehra become gehrai. So all these are adjective, and we with some derivational suffix we can make it the noun. So in the khush and khushi we have the e suffix, which is the derivation. We can write the khush change into khushi. So here E is the derivational morpheme which change from adjective to noun. And we have bada into badai. So here I is the derivational suffix which change into the noun into the which change the adjective into the noun. We have another example of bond morphemes, or we can say that the derivational morphemes from Urdu Hindi is verb, and from we can change from verb to noun. So we have the verb like likhna. So likhna can be changed into lekhak, and padhna can change into the pathak, and chalna can change into the chalan, bolna can change into the boli, seekhna can change into the shikshak. So these are the example of derivational suffixes in Urdu or Hindi. So that is comes under the derivational suffix. So derivational suffix just create the new meaning or create the new words or also change in the parts of speech in a language. So here you can understand the whole chart of inflectional morphemes and derivational morphemes. So the function of inflectional morphemes means to encode the grammatical features like tense, number, case, aspect and comparison and gender, while the derivational morphemes create new lexeme by altering the meaning or category. And in terms of word class, inflectional morpheme does not change the word class, but the derivational morpheme changes in the word class. In terms of productivity, inflectional morphemes are highly productive, while the derivational morphemes are not productive in nature. We can have the example like play to plays to played to playing. So that are example of inflectional morpheme, and the derivational morpheme example like play become the playful. So but in terms the example of Hindi Urdu like ladka become ladke and khush become khushi in Hindi Urdu. So when you change the laka into ladke, so that is the inflectional change, or we can say that we are adding only inflectional morpheme, or derivational change, we have the khush become khushi, from happy to happiness. Thank you so much.